All right, I tested out the speakers. It said they were working. So hopefully it's working, and we're just going to do a retake of October's MathReps monthly. So let me go over here. So yeah, so in October we talked about stacking MathReps, and people were like, there's no audio. And I did not know it until I went through the entire thing. So thank you to those people who contacted me and let me know that there was no audio on that. To make today's a little bit easier since it was already done. I am having some internet issues in my area today, so hopefully that doesn't detract from any of it. Fiber line was cut, and so I have had no internet or phone service, good times, in my area. So I'm home now, and I do have internet, and I do have limited phone service, although I tried to talk to my dad, and that was a bit of a mess. All right, you don't really care about my personal issues. So moving on. So we're going to talk about stacking MathReps. I think yesterday I said that we were going to talk about the games that are available in some of the MathReps. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go back to the stacking edu protocols. So thank you for joining. All right, so let's go over here. So the great thing about it is that you can use any existing curriculum. So this is going to be, of course, math specific. So you can use any of your existing curriculum that you have, whether it's Go Math, Eureka. I think it's changed now. I don't know. What else do we have? Math and Focus, McGraw-Hill, My Math, whatever it is you're using, this works in conjunction, and you don't need to reinvent the wheel or do, create anything or add anything to your plate, because Lord knows, teachers, we have enough on our plates as it is. All right. So the first edu protocol, I'm going to go through a series of edu protocols that I like to use in classrooms, and then show you different ways that you can go ahead and stack them. So the first one is Fast and Curious. And if you've heard me talk before, you've heard the story that I did not want Fast and Curious to work with math facts. It was, in my opinion at the time, it focused too much on timed math tasks. We know from Joe Bowler's research that that is a bad, bad thing. Although listening to John Crippone, he enjoys this story as well. I did it. We went back and forth. We argued. I said, fine. And in the back of my head, it was literally, fine, I will do it because I'm going to prove you wrong. I did have to end up eating my words on that one. So using the one quick rep, we went ahead, we did it. My students went from a fifth grade multiplication. We went from 54% to approximately 97% within about a month and a half or so, consistently. And then after a 3-week break, we went down to 94%. And they did not practice it at all during that 3-week break. So I was really pleased with the outcome of that. It didn't cause anxiety. They were excited to do it, and they begged to do it. On here, you see that we play it day 1, we review it, and then we play it again. You record the highest and the lowest scores for the week. Day 2, their score goes down a little bit. So day 1, the first time they take it, horribly, fantastically low. We love that. We review it, we play it again. They do better. They do significantly better on it. Day 2, that high number isn't quite as high again. We only play it once. Day 3, day 4, and I swear to you, on day 5, they begged for it. They really did. It was great. So here we have the tools. So the tools that you can use what works for you. I used quizzes. That worked really great for my kids. They really liked the glitches. I haven't used it with GimKit, but I know others who have, so I threw that out there for you. Blookit is another really great one. The great thing about Blookit is that you can have the same number set, but different games each time you do it. Kahoot, you can use it with Kahoot. I personally don't like doing that, but that's just my own personal preference. And again, if it works for you, you do you. And a really great one to have the kids just kind of practice on their own. It's not as competitive in nature like quizzes or Blookit is, or Kahoot. Wordwall.net. So having that wordwall.net up there, and just have them do that as an independent practice is a really good thing. So again, hopefully my internet is holding out. And I don't know. It is what it is, right? Like it was a very weird day at school when the internet went down. So the next one I'm going to look at is my baby, MathReps. So again, MathReps was inspired by something by John Crippo, his 8 parts of speech. This is, I legit just wanted to take some standards that went together and put them on one page. You're like, I can't do this. Where does this fit in with my curriculum? I can't, stack any more stuff on top of me. You're absolutely right. You can't. Take out your problem of the day or your review of the day and replace it with this. The beauty of that is it's the same paper every day. You're only changing 1-2 numbers a day, and that's it. And the kids get to use the same format over and over again. And so they get used to the format. There's no trying to figure it out or, just working on one standard a week. You're working on multiple standards during the week. Every day. So you're going to be doing that. So anywhere, depending on it, some of them, MathReps don't have a full 10 standards in it because it just didn't go with it. So you really have to focus on what goes with it as well. You do this daily, you give them immediate feedback, and each day they really do get faster. The first time you do it, it's going to take you a while, and you're going to feel pain, and you're going to think, Lisa, why am I doing this? This is not what I signed up for. I swear to you, by Wednesday of that week or day 3, the third time you do it, you will have cut your time down drastically. So I see my internet is like very, very wonky. So you'll have done it. They will have cut their time down drastically. So this is a second grade one. I really like this one. It was created by Megan, and she's a great contributor. So this is a second grade one. You'll notice that I do have all the standards listed here on the right-hand side of it. And all you change is the number of the day, the number in blue, right? So they're looking at it. They're doing word form. Is it odd or even? You represent it with the base 10 blocks. So this is a picture of it on Google Slides, but we also have it available in Google Jamboard as well. So Jamboard's a little bit easier for the students to write on, especially if they have the touch screens. They do the coins, second grade, you guys have coins, right? That's part of your standard. You can have it count 10 more, and you can put that number anywhere in there so that they're, put it in the second or the third square, and they have to then figure out what is 10 less, right? Fill in the hundreds chart. Greater than, less than, expanded form, write an equation that matches it. If you're anything like me, I need a visual on this. So there are examples to all of these things. So you see here, there's an example. Everything it will have an example to it because, again, I'm that visual person, so I need it. And so I figure other people might need it as well. And so this was an example that Megan had come up with. So you can kind of see how that goes. So far we've talked about doing the Fast and Curious with math facts. There are several classes in my district that are now doing that and finding success with it. So I also encourage you to do that. There are some schools, or excuse me, some classrooms in my district as well that are using MathReps, and they are using them consistently, and they are finding that the students are retaining the information. Again, look at how many standards are on here. So this one has like what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 standards that are all listed here. And sometimes those standards are pretty meaty, and there's a lot going on in one standard. So just because it's one standard doesn't mean that you're not hitting a lot of information for those kiddos. Yeah, I'm going to move on. So another one that I really like is Sous Chef, and it came out of Iron Chef. Now, the thing with this one is that it's really, really specific. So whereas Iron Chef, it's timed, you do it at the beginning. It's sort of an anticipatory set. You're doing it in the beginning of a lesson. A Sous Chef is not done that way. There is a time limit on it, but the time limit is solely based on the amount of time that they should have in order to complete this to give them, you're not going to give them extra time. You're giving the amount of time that is absolutely necessary. The other thing with this is that it is not to be done in the beginning. It is to be done and used as a review on this one. So it's also done, as part of a group work thing. So just like in an Iron Chef where you work in a group, you also work in a group on this one. And so let's go ahead and take a look. I did this. These kiddos are 8th grade now, I think, something like that. So I did this a while back. And this was just a really simple slide. They zhuzhed it up and made it all pretty and whatnot. So you can see here, it was adding two fractions with unlike denominators. And they just did it on a whiteboard and inserted the image into their slide. And that's how they did it. Worked beautifully. I am a fan of that. So this student needed to use the area model, and they needed to make sure that it was in its simplest form. This student in particular, she felt really confident with this particular method. So in her group, she got to choose this one. So it also helps them to gain confidence in the different methods that they're doing. This was the number line model. So they looked at it, the number line. This student felt confident in this, did it. This student liked the algorithm. So she was really good with the algorithm and took that on. Let me go back. And so because there were 3 different methods, I had that year somewhere around 27 students. So they each presented it. And when they presented it, everybody in the class got to hear it. And okay, there we go. It goes black on me there. So everybody gets to hear it, right? And they're seeing it several times. There's a few different ways you can do this. You can have the same problem for everybody in the class. You can have everybody in the class has the same problem for area model, and then a different problem for the number line, and then a different problem for the algorithm here. So there's just different ways you can do it. In the beginning, I would suggest putting it so that everybody has the same problem set and they're seeing the same methods over and over. Are they literally, like, we've met kids, right? And even us as adults, like, I zone out. They're not listening to it 9 times. Like, it's just not happening, but they're hearing it more than once. They're seeing the different methods more than once. And that right there is powerful. So this is a really great one. I do like this one. I had a lot of fun developing it. I would use students and they would, tell me what went well and what didn't go well. And they were super honest. And the secret ingredient was a word problem. So I like having kids work backwards with word problems because so often they can say, oh yes, 3/6 plus 1/4, and they can come up with, they can solve it. But in order to come up with like a real world scenario where they might find this, a word problem, that takes a different level and a different skill set. And I love that, like, they struggle with this in the beginning, but the more they struggle with it as that productive struggle goes, the better they get at it and the deeper understanding that they get. Frayer model, super huge fan of the Frayer model too. So these recipe cards are courtesy of John Carippo. He created them. So the Frayer model is you take a keyword or concept. I have done it with math vocabulary. I've done it with a math problem where students get a problem in the middle, and in the 4 quadrants, they have to solve the problem in 4 different ways, much like Sous Chef. You can have 4 quadrants. You can have 3 quadrants if, only 3 quadrants are applicable to your standard or your grade. You can have 5 quadrants. You can kind of, mix and match it. Every student gets 1 slide. You can either have everybody on 1 slide deck, or you can pass it out on paper and have them do it on paper. I've done that before as well. And you can do different things with it. So let's check this one out. So this is one I did a few years ago where we had a class dictionary for math. And everybody was assigned one slide. And so they all had one slide to do. So you can see that they had to write the definition, they had to give either characteristic, sign. They also had to give an example and a non-example with this. So we had an entire slide deck that had this in it. So they had all the different vocabulary that's in it. I'm really excited because I'm starting to look more into how we can incorporate ELD strategies into math. I think for me personally, it's not something that I thought a whole lot about or have bridged those gaps. So I'm starting to do a little bit of research on that and starting to develop things on that. And this is an example of a second grade. Yes, second grade, second or third. It's either second or third math problem that we did, and this was the Frayer. This was done on a Google Jamboard, and you can see in the center there, it had the actual problem. We wrote a related fact. I believe this was second grade. So we wrote a related fact. We did the base 10 method. We did the place value method, and then the curriculum that my district chooses to use also has something called the working form, which obviously looks a lot like the algorithm. So it's starting to get them into the algorithm. And this was end of second grade, I believe. So this is so you can do this in different ways. And if you're wondering why the number 1 is in the top right quadrant, as opposed to the top left where we normally see it, that's because in math, in the upper grades, once they start looking at number lines and whatnot, it's 4 quadrants. I got this from Jeremiah Roosh, my co-author, and he's done this. And so the top right quadrant is quadrant number 1. So if we start them off in math like that, I think that'll just kind of help them transition later on, and it won't be so weird to them to see that. So those are how the quadrants are split up in math. And I think starting in 6th or 7th grade, I believe, they start seeing more than just the first quadrant. Another one of my favorites is Right Bites. I'm not sure why that S is wonky like that, but we are where we are, right? So Right Bites is a really great one. It's a lot like a number talk, but on steroids. So you have an image, and what do you notice? What do you wonder? The question that they come up with should be able to be solved using math, because that's the idea behind it, right? And if they can come up with 4 different equations, and that's really difficult for them to do. So you're looking at, you can have 4 plus 3. You can have 4 plus 4 minus 1, because you can look at that negative space as well. So there's different ways that you can look at that. So 2 times 4 minus 1. So different ways that they're looking at it and broadening their understanding of math and how to look at it and how to solve it. And again, I talked about having students using word problems. Super huge fan of them doing it with a word problem and adding a word problem onto it, taking it to that next level for them. In the beginning, this, as with all edu protocols, doing it together is key, so that they get to understand it. They get to have that success. You start off with something relatively easy so that they can have the success with it and want to continue on. If we make it too hard for them in the beginning, it's not very fun. Here's another example. I love this one. This one, again, is by Megan. She made this one as well. There is images. It's a website, and it's linked on the bottom of this, where you can find great math images that go along beautifully with this. So again, it's what do you notice? What do you wonder? She's changed it around a little bit, like what question you could ask. And then she goes into estimate. She only has them come up with 1 equation, but she has them talk about their strategy. So I love that wording that they have to go into it with it. You can then also bump it to the next level in an almost cyber sandwich kind of way. And I think Megan has done this as well. and you take it and two partners work together and they compare like what strategy they used and how they arrived at their answers. So that's another great way. So again, stacking. Again, I'm just going through several edu protocol or MathReps or math protocols right now. And then we're going to look at how to break them, how to stack some of them, because you're not going to want to use all of these in one day, like too much, right? So I'm just kind of throwing a bunch at the wall. You take what you like and you make it work. So one of my very favorite ones is this one, Defenders of Mathematicalville, which is also known as Comic Strip Math. It does have a weird, long, crazy name, and that was because all the names that I wanted, which I thought were super awesome names, other people also thought that they were awesome names, and they were already used or copyrighted. Copyrighted? Is that a word? It is now. And one reason that I absolutely love this is that the little character, the character's name is Master of Dark. It is neither male nor female. We just wanted to be, we just didn't want to go down that road of like, boys are bad or girls are bad or whatever. We just didn't go there. It's gender neutral character. And my students that year, they are now in 7th grade. So they were 5th grade at the time, named the character. And I have one specific student, her name is Nicole. She created this character. And actually, this is the second iteration of this character. She, when she created the character, she had contacted me about a year later. So when she was in 6th grade and said, hey, I updated that character. Can I give it to you? So I absolutely love this. But the cool thing, and this was the first iteration of mine personally. So looking at this, you're like, this looks nothing like the version that's on the website. I'm like, yeah, I know. I got schooled in how to actually have these and make it look more like a comic strip. My students that year were very into comics. They would bring in comics, they would read them. And so they schooled me on like, that's not the right font. This is not, like, I just got schooled. Okay. So I took it and they made it better. So I was grateful for them for that. Another student who really, really got honed in on it was Xavier. So shout out to those two students. So it starts off where in the first square here, because it's comic strip, we're not going to do the whole quadrants, but in this first square, you give the students a problem. It could be a word problem. In this particular case, it was just find the volume problem. You could draw it for them and then copy it. You could do it on Google Jamboard. I did it on paper. I'm a huge fan of math on paper and making them write it out. That is my jam. That is what I like. And then they have to break down the steps. How are you going to solve that problem? So instead of just diving in, I'm making them stop to think about it. What is your first step? And so they, question, like, what is it that we need to convert? Like, do we need to convert anything? In this case, they did, because they had inches and feet. So they had to convert something. How are you going to do it? Okay, well, here is in the step 2, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to break it down. And then in step 3, you actually solve it. And then you can see here, another student was like, hey, we could put little bubbles and teachers can give hints if they want to give a hint. I was like, oh my God, that's a great idea. I love that. Let's do that. So these little bubbles in the bottom corners are for hints if teachers want to. So my hint was 12 inches equals 1 foot. That was my only hint for them. And then, we just kind of worked it out, and they could draw their own character, making themselves the heroes, because let's face it, they are the heroes of math. We all love math and we all love heroes. So why not be a hero of math? And so you can see that they did that, and there's some little captioning going on. So they had fun with it. And there's a whole thing. Xavier had suggested that the teacher collect them throughout the year, and we have it so that you can make it into a book. So if you have a class or a group of kids that are really into this, you can make it into a book. And we have all of that online as well. So now, how do you stack them? So these are the ones that we went over: Fast and Curious, Fristler Model, Sous Chef, Comic Strip Math, and MathReps. So if you think about it, you know, these are the kind you would use, like Fast and Curious for vocabulary, math facts. I do like using it with math facts. The Fristler model is with concepts and terms. Sous Chef is a review. Comic strip math, again, it's making them break down that process. And it's more of a review as well. You wouldn't give it to them in the beginning of a unit. You would give it to them towards the end of a unit. And MathReps is throughout. It's just, you know, the algorithms and the equations and that those basic. So I would start off with, this is what I did. I did Fast and Curious regularly. I did MathReps regularly. So those were the two that I did regularly, like daily, regularly. Maybe when our Wednesdays are weird. We have meetings on Wednesdays. So definitely Fast and Curious. Maybe I took a day off of MathReps and I threw in either a Fristler or a Sous Chef, depending on where I was. Maybe I threw in a comic strip math. So you can kind of stack them all to meet the needs of you and your students, to kind of take a break from like the constant repetition. While we like repetition, we also need to give them variety. Otherwise, bad things happen, right? They don't like those things. So those are some of the ways that I would do it. I would definitely do maybe Sous Chef and a math rep, and, you know, a Fast and Curious. So Fast and Curious, then a math rep, then go into a Sous Chef. That's going to take up a decent chunk of your math time. So depending on how much time you have, you might want to think about that. Yeah. So those are some of my suggestions and some of my favorite math protocols. And as always, like, feel free to contact me if you have any questions. I am more than happy to, you know, answer them, to chat with you, provided my internet is working. So it seemed to have held out for this long, so that's good. Hopefully I can get to get to talk to my dad again, because today was a little rough today, trying to talk to him with the internet out and the phones not working. So again, please feel free to contact me. I will do this again in December. So the beginning of December, I think I will go over those math ones, those math games that are in MathReps. If you look at that, and because nobody understands my thought process, which I don't blame you. It's a really scary place up in here in this head. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you all next month. And feel free to connect on Twitter or follow me on, I can't believe it, I'm on TikTok, right? The Tiki Talkies. And we also have a MathReps group as well. So I'll be posting these videos there as well. And hopefully there was audio this time. Okay, thank you and goodbye.